Now 12:30. Okay. All right. So good evening, everyone. I'm Anna Johnson, County Council member for District 8, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our roundtable discussion today. We begin always with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd ask you to please join me as I do that. And I hope you can see my little flag right here. If you can't, okay, just imagine that you have one somewhere. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much for joining me. All right, so every month we have these discussions to inform our students, constituents, public, all of those people. We want to inform folks about what Charleston County is doing and how some of our departments operate. And of course, I try to send the things around, what is being asked for information for, certain topics. So broadband has been on our minds quite a bit here the last 3 years. And the pandemic certainly has made it, a priority for me. So I wanted to have Jim. Jim, you like that better? Mr.
That works perfect. That's perfect, absolutely.
Okay, well, I've asked Jim to come on. He's with okay, just remembered. Look at this. I just lost my page. So, state broadband.
Yep, I can help you out.
Yes, help me out here because I just messed up my paper.
Not a problem.
But
can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you okay. And you can go ahead and introduce yourself for us from the State Director's Office.
Yeah, well, Madam Chairman, thank you for inviting me today. And it's an honor to join you for your communication to your constituents.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for hosting this, and always love to talk about my favorite personal subject, which is broadband. Really quick, just a little bit of background, and I'll share some slides in a second. I am an employee of the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff, state agency here in Columbia. And some of you may know we have brand new broadband office here in the state of South Carolina. So it was just formed in July of last year. So it's come pretty quick. I actually have not reached my 1-year tenure with ORS yet. I was hired on March 25th and came in and became the director. So let me make sure I get my screen shared. Hopefully you can all see this. Are we good to go?
Oh yes, we can see it now, and I do see where you have rural broadband because my district is mainly in the rural area, so I'm glad that you have that big topic right there.
Well, absolutely, and let's talk about that for a minute. When we talk about rural, I mean, everybody on this call has traveled all over the state, and even, downtown Columbia, downtown Charleston, or Charleston County, I should say, it's very common that you have areas that feel very rural, even a mainly urban. Everybody pretty much thinks of Columbia as an urban county, but we have an area here in Columbia called Lower Richland, which is home to Congaree National Park, and many of you have probably visited, but it feels very rural. So we kind of use rural in talking about places that feel rural. And I like to share this, and I like to give us all a little bit of history lesson. And I'll try to be pretty quick through this to save enough time for Q&A. I'd love to answer questions. But I want I want to, you'll notice the title on my slide deck is the next greatest thing. And I want to make sure I give everybody a little bit of history. And I love to frame the broadband discussion looking back in time, specifically on May 20th, 1936, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt did something pretty special. He signed what was known as the Rural Electrification Act. And what that did is that brought electricity to rural America. It was a very, very important time in US history. And this book that I'm showing, this slide, was written in 1984 at the 50-year anniversary of electricity. And I want to start reading this one quote, which still sends chills through me. But if you can imagine, if Farmer stood up in church in 1940 and proclaimed to the congregation, he says, "Brothers and sisters, I want to tell you this. The greatest thing on earth is to have the love of God in your heart, but the next greatest thing is to have electricity in your house." And I love that sentiment. And of course, where we sit today, what's so amazing about this book is you replace the word electricity with the word internet, and we find ourselves with history repeating itself. And you know, I hope that resonates with you. There are a lot of residents in South Carolina that just simply do not have access to the internet, and it's a big thing. So, you know, as we dive into this topic a little bit, I want to give everybody a little bit of understanding on some key terminology and phrases, because it's pretty important as we look at the state. But as I'm in charge of making investments in internet service providers around the state to help bring broadband to areas all over the state. So it's very important to me. I'm not allowed to invest, you know, per federal regulations, I'm not allowed to invest in areas that are already served. So the question is, how do you define an area that is served and one that's unserved? And that's done in the format of a download speed and an upload speed. So the Federal Communications Commission in January 2015, they defined 25.3 as the benchmark for an area that's served and unserved in the United States. So I'll dig into this a little deeper, but it's kind of key to just keep 25.3 in the back of your head. I think this will make more sense in a minute. Something I'd love to share with everybody on this phone call is how do you understand when your home has 25.3 or not? How do you know whether you're properly served? And there's this great little tool I'll share with everybody. This is called the Ucla speed test application. And I will challenge everybody on this call to download this application and put it on your smartphone if possible. It's totally free. And at the state, we have licensed all of the data. So when you put this app on your phone and you press the go button, it will test your home internet capability so you know whether you have 25.3 or not, which is a great thing. And if you share this with your friends and neighbors and teach them how to do it, it's super simple. Literally, all you do is press the go button and it will give you a engineering grade readout for how fast your house is. And you can actually go in different parts of your home. If you already have internet in your home, you can go in different parts of your home, and you may see that your speed changes as you move from room to room based on the quality of the Wi-Fi service in your house. So anyway, that's a great tool. And how that works is literally every time you guys run a speed test, anybody in the state runs a speed test, it makes our maps smarter. So we're really proud of the technology we've developed, and it's how it works. So let me, I'll move through this a little bit quickly, but I think you'll like seeing some of these slides. First of all, at the state level, when you see this particular slide, you can see areas of the state of South Carolina that have different types of internet service. So I think everybody's familiar with the word fiber. We're all hearing that a lot. So the black areas on the map are areas where we have fiber service available to residents. The blue areas on the map are places where we have high-speed cable connectivity. The copper colored areas, the golds, are places where we have digital subscriber lines. These are the old copper telephone lines coming into your house. And candidly, the thing that keeps me up at night, and Phyllis and I have talked a lot about this, the pink areas on the map are the places where residents of South Carolina do not have any access to the internet at all. There is no available provider for them. And we're going to zoom into Charleston County in a minute. I'm going to show you the state of Charleston County, but pay attention to that pink, because when I think about 6-year-olds that are living in those areas, you know, if we take 10 years to solve this problem, our 6-year-olds are going to turn up being 16-year-olds, and quite candidly, they're probably going to be unemployable. If we don't get this problem fixed in our lifetimes and do it rapidly, we're going to lose a whole generation of kids. And you know, it's really mission critical. So hopefully that makes some sense. And I want to say these pink areas, this has nothing to do with affordability. When I talk about pink, I mean there's no physical infrastructure at any cost in these areas of the state. And I know affordability is an issue. We'll talk about that in a minute, but this is an engineering problem. So coming back to, excuse me, 25.3 for a minute. You know, I love this quote. It's one of my all-time favorites. Stephen Covey taught us to begin with the end in mind when you want to achieve something special. And for me, having to make investment decisions in the state of South Carolina, the green areas on the map are already served. The white areas, nobody lives there. And, you know, Chairman Johnson, I will ask you, you know, you don't want me wasting precious state resources investing in places that already have service or where nobody lives. So let's take those areas off the table for a minute. And then now let's pay attention to what I call the freckles. So here's how we look at the map. So now when we look at the map, you can see the green areas are all served, the white areas, nobody lives there. And now you can see the freckles popping up in the map, and you can see in the Barnwell area, Charleston, Hampton County, Oconee County, and the northwestern part of the state, you can see those freckles popping up. And then I want to show you the next map. You can now see some blue and some yellow showing up on the map. These are places we've made investments. So you can see federal investment coming in. And you're also going to notice that the date on the map has now changed. So I'm going to go back one. You see the date on the map is September 30, 2021. That's our most recent data.
Right.
And the planning map is now dated December 31, 2022. And the reason we're doing this, you know, Madam Chairman, the reason we're doing this kind of stuff is so that you can see where we have placed our bets, projects that are underway, and by the end of this calendar year, that construction will be complete. So I don't want you to worry about those areas. That's what I'm telling you. We've got them covered. And by the end of the year, those residents should be happy. But this is a key part of this discussion, is understanding that the investment has to happen first. And in many cases, those projects take 18 to 24 months to become reality. So there's a time lag between investment and construction completion. I think everybody's aware of that, but we're moving as quickly as we can. We've also created, hopefully this is pretty helpful to everybody, a statistics page. I'm going to show you how you can all download these maps in a few minutes. So don't worry about it. You'll all be able to pull these down and use these, but we've created statistics slides, and you can see the black area on the top is where we currently are. The green is the amount of funded activity that we've done in the state, and the blue is where we expect to land at the end of the calendar year. So you can see at the state level, we started September 30 with 221,731 housing units that do not have internet. And then at the end of this year, we expect to have brought that number down to 188,354. Hopefully that's making some sense, how these slides work. It'll be more fun to look at Charleston County directly in a minute. but here's how that goes. Now, you can see we also have some statistics for K-12 students. So we are now working with South Carolina Department of Education to accurately track how many students don't have internet. We also have what are called qualified housing units. Some of you are familiar with the low-income areas that are defined by Housing and Urban Development. And these are the super, Housing and Urban Development calls these difficult development areas. And those are places where community development block grants are issued. But let me switch gears into Charleston County. I want to make it personal for everybody so you all can see what we're dealing with. So again, this is the best available technology for Charleston County. You can see the black areas are where we have fiber service available. Again, blue is high-speed cable. The copper colored areas are DSL service. And I say DSL, and I don't want to be too technical, but I think everybody, at least I can remember back in early part of 2002, 2003. Remember when we switched from dial-up modems to, we had DSL service, digital subscriber line. And that's because we all got internet the same way back in 2002 and 3. I remember getting DSL in my house and how great it was that I could actually talk on the phone and send an email message at the same time. That was hallelujah moment, was a big deal. The problem in a lot of parts of South Carolina is they're still stuck with that level of service. Those areas have never been reconstructed. So specific to Charleston County, you can see Awendaw and McClellanville need some serious help. You can see those pink areas. And again, I'll remind you, the pink areas are places which have no internet service provider at all. And they need some help. And then over a little bit west of Megget and Edisto Beach, there's some serious problems on that side of Charleston County as well. So that's our best available technology. When we switch to looking at the areas of need map, again, this is dated September 30th. This is our best available look. And now I teach you to pay attention to the freckles on the map, because those are the places where there's a lot of homes and the internet service is weak. So again, I'm looking in Awendaw, McClellanville. There are some places of high need. The freckles are popping. Isle of Palms. There's some places. The darker the color of orange or red, the more homes are there that need help. That's how you read this map. I'll show you the planning map. Unfortunately, the planning map doesn't change in Charleston County, and that's really that's a short-term problem. But we were unable to make any investments in Charleston County over the last year because of the fact that General Assembly restricted us to working only in really 14 primary counties, and Charleston County was not one of them. But that being the case, we are about to have a historic opportunity to make investments in broadband. The General Assembly, the Senate has had 3 readings of a new bill. The House has had 2 readings, the last update I have. And we're expecting some legislation to change. And we're going to have a historic amount of money coming into broadband. But until it gets allocated to the South Carolina office, to the broadband office, we really can't do anything. So we're waiting on our marching orders from the General Assembly. But here's this the statistics slide for Charleston County. You can see as of today, there are 6,563 homes that do not have access to broadband in Charleston County. And as of today, there's roughly 1,000 public school students in Charleston County that do not have access to internet at home. And you can see we don't have any funded projects currently, but that is the current state of affairs for Charleston. I want to introduce everybody to a website we're extremely proud of. We launched this in the middle of January. It's called scdigitaldrive.org. You can see the domain name, how you get there, scdigitaldrive.org. You can go. All of the maps that I just showed you are available for free download on this website. And in addition to that, we have a bunch of really cool interactive tools that all of the citizens of South Carolina can use. We have an interactive dashboard for all of the state house and Senate districts right now. You can see the same statistics available if you're an elected official. You can also have, Madam Chairman, any of your residents that need access to internet that are, I'm sure your phone is ringing routinely and you have constituents that are calling you and say, I can't get internet. We have a brand new survey tool that's available, and all they need to do is click this link. I think you can see it in the center of the screen. When they go to SC Digital Drive, they can click that link. That takes them into a survey. They can fill it out, and that instantly updates our map, and we engage immediately, and we will try to help that resident connect to internet. I will be very clear, though, we can't always help everybody because internet doesn't exist in certain places. But if it doesn't exist, it helps inform us so that we can make investment money available to take on those projects. When we make investments, we invest only in internet service providers. So we have to create a project. We will do grant funding to the ISP. Those are the only eligible applicants for our grants. But I think you will enjoy, using this website. There's also an application we have. I want to make everybody aware. There's an internet service provider lookup tool. So a resident can click on the page. They can go on the consumer tab, and they can actually type in their street address, and we will tell them which internet service providers are available at their address. So a lot of people don't know. And here is also a QR code that you can quickly pop up. It'll take you straight away to the survey. Is how we're doing that. And so I don't keep talking on and on and on. I don't want to bore everybody, but I hope I gave you some nice information. Here's my contact information directly. I will tell you that I can be hard to reach at times, so I apologize in advance. I try to be as responsive as I can to inbound requests, but we have a nice team at the broadband office, and we'll try to get to everybody as quickly as possible. So if hopefully that was helpful, I'm gonna stop my screen share, and I would love to take any questions that anybody has, and I hope that was helpful.
Well, I certainly would like to thank you, Jim, for the presentation. I think you certainly answered some of the big questions that I had. I did see that map last year at Hilton Head, and I kept wondering, when are you all going to do some work? Because you showed us where the broadband was lacking, and so I'm glad that you explained why we haven't seen the activity going on here in Charleston. Somehow the word didn't get to me that the General Assembly did not allow you to come down here and do the work here first.
Right, and so there's a lot going on, a lot of very exciting things. So let me kind of update everybody on the funding perspective. I think a lot of people have probably heard the term American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA money. So American Rescue Plan actually was part of the coronavirus relief, and the state of South Carolina received a little over $2.4 billion in funding. And what we've been waiting on is the General Assembly to allocate that money to different state agencies for different purposes. So there will be money allocated for water and sewer. There will be money allocated for the Unemployment Trust Fund. There'll be money allocated for broadband. And that's what I was speaking of. The General Assembly just met last week and the week before, and they have to go through multiple readings. And both the House and Senate need three readings to approve the allocation of funds. And then, of course, the governor has to sign state law to make it official. But that could happen as soon as the early part of March. And I've had my fingers and toes crossed for a long time, because that is the key enabler for us to begin standing up a grant program and making things work. But again, as a state agency, we can't even announce a grant program until money has been allocated to our office. So that's been our holdup, Madam Chairman, in Charleston County, is just waiting on the official allocation of funds. Some of you may have also heard about some additional federal legislation, which is exciting. And President Joe Biden on November 15th signed IIJA, as it's become known. I always get it wrong. Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, I think is what it stands for. But that's additional federal legislation. But I will just caution everybody, it's extremely exciting, but I don't think any money will actually make it into the state of South Carolina until calendar year 2023. There's a lot of pieces and parts that have to be put in place at the federal level. And then we actually have to apply for that money in order to draw it down to the state of South Carolina. So there's going to be a lot of planning work going on next year. And hopefully that's helpful to understand the context we're living in right now.
Well, I appreciate you giving us some great information. With the date you said was 2023 before you think that we will actually be able to put our hands on any kind of grant money from the federal government.
No, well, so there's different pots. So
I know we have some here ourselves through Charleston
Yes.
County. Yeah.
The American Rescue Plan Act money, I think we will be allocated in the month of March this year.
Oh,
The IIJA money, I do not think will happen until calendar year 2023.
okay.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Okay. Do we have a question? Anyone?
Yes, I have a question for Jim, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Isaac? More?
Jim, my question is, if I'm hearing you correctly, these areas that don't have broadband, don't have internet, are they also unable to use cell phone in these areas? Or is just the main internet service itself?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. The maps that I've showed everybody were exclusive to what we call wireline service, okay, versus wireless service. So when as you can imagine, it's a very different experience for a student to do their homework on a cell phone versus on a computer in their, full desktop computer. It's next to impossible to do your homework on a cell phone. I can, vouch for that. I've heard that 1,000 times. So we're very focused, Mr. Moore, on making sure homes actually have internet connectivity in their house. And we've had to do some stopgap things because, of course, when we got in the pandemic, the only thing we could do really quickly was to issue, you may have seen, and you might be familiar with, we call them the MiFi hotspots, the little portable connectors
Right.
that will talk to the cellular network. A lot of those, in fact, our office, we actually issued about 93,000 of those devices to K-12 students all over the state of South Carolina. But that was just a temporary measure. We would like to get internet available for every home in South Carolina. That's my personal mission, is to make that happen. And I'd love to get everybody connection to fiber if we can. Fiber or high-speed cable, that's the goal.
Another question, Mr. Jim, is some of these residents aren't able to afford internet. Is there a program that to get internet into a household where the government can pay for a lower cost internet?
It's another fabulous question. So you're my ringer today. Yes, affordability, the first part of the game is to have access. I'll use those words, access and adoption. the first thing we have to do is make sure physical infrastructure exists. And then the second thing we have to do is make sure people can afford it. And that's what we call adoption. So if you can't afford it, you can't adopt it into your house. And there are two federal programs I will draw to your attention. One is called the Emergency Broadband Benefit. That's offered by the Federal Communications Commission. And that program is being renamed as we speak to the American Connectivity Plan, ACP. But both of those programs offer a monthly subsidy to an individual resident that helps them pay for the cost of internet service. So the emergency broadband benefit was offered at $50 a month for a resident. And the way that you get that is you have to have access to the internet first, and then you apply for that through your internet service provider. So I'm thinking of Charleston County. You might have home telecom available for you. You may also have Comcast or Charter available to you in Charter. You may also have AT&T. So you would pick the provider that's at your street address, and then you would call them and try to apply for the emergency broadband benefit. So you apply through your provider. And EBB was $50 a month, and the new American Connectivity Plan is $30 a month. But both of those should be very, very helpful for a resident that qualifies for those programs. And Phyllis, I know you're working on some stuff too. Do you have anything else to add?
Thank you, Jim. I'm so excited to be here with everybody today, and I always love hearing from Jim. I learn something every time, Jim, you do a presentation or we sit down and talk. But Mr. Moore, in the area of adoption, one of the areas Cradle to Career has been working on, and with great part, thanks to Jim and members of his team, is the issue of adoption. And so we fully agree that people have to be able to afford the service, but also know how to use the service, who to call if the technology breaks, have to have the right number of devices per household. So we've been working on what we're calling digital inclusion with an emphasis on adoption. We have a first pilot that is rolling out in the east side community of downtown Charleston, and quite honestly are in conversations with Charleston County now to talk about how to moving to other areas based on, quite honestly, Jim's maps and where we know there's need. A critical part of that work we're really excited about is the placement of a community navigator within each of those areas, so folks can have someone who can help them navigate some of the things that Jim has been talking about. And I'm always reminded that we can only move right at the speed that we're moving at. And so as internet service providers are getting the infrastructure in, we hope to be working alongside them on these issues of adoption, and doing that by getting on the ground and working with communities, providing the resources needed to help those communities really be able to adopt and maintain the infrastructure that we're so genuinely excited about.
Okay, well, thank you. I think, Tim, you touched on something that reminded me about the some grants that came out last year. In Charleston County, we had, I think it was Starlight, a company that was gonna be able to put these devices on the house, satellites on the house, and that was being done at, well, no cost. It was, I think it was about $500, but residents didn't have to pay for that if they, qualify for the area where these were going to be installed. And then there was a $50 grant towards payment for the monthly services. So now, I don't know too many people that have said they got that over there.
Yeah. So, Madam Chairman, I will help you out a little bit with that. The specifically, that's called Starlink.
Okay.
And
Starlink, something like that.
SpaceX, some of you are familiar with Elon Musk and the Falcon 9 rockets and all of that stuff. So SpaceX has come up with a satellite version of internet technology. And you're absolutely correct. There are certain census blocks, as they're called in Charleston County, which were eligible for Starlink service. I have not worked personally with any residents in Charleston to know that they have gotten connected, but we don't typically map Starlink service on our maps because Starlink is really available on a house by house basis. So just because one home gets it does not mean the neighbor will get it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But we're excited that it's coming to town. Candidly, Starlink is a good solution. I will tell you there are at least 500 residents of South Carolina that currently have Starlink service. We've been carefully monitoring the quality of service that is available, and it well exceeds federal standard of 25.3. And I think on average, it's been 116 meg down and maybe 50 meg up. So it's way beyond the capability of certainly DSL service, and it's a good setup if you can get it. But it is challenging to get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jim, my name is Bill Tunick. I'm the communications director for Charleston County. I've been actively involved in the grant programs, Starlink and so forth. I think the question with Starlink, 500 subscribers today, but 500,000 or in that range, what is going to be the capacity of that network? As you very well know, it gets loaded down. It's certainly not going to be that good, but perhaps well exceeding 25.3. That's the hope.
Yeah. So Bill, great follow-up. It's really interesting. I've been carefully following Starlink, and the way that SpaceX expands their customer capacity is by launching rockets. And with each rocket launch, they place about 48 satellites into the upper or low Earth orbit, as it's called. But that expands global capacity. So it takes quite a few rocket launches for the capacity of South Carolina to measurably increase. And so we have a limited capacity in South Carolina, but our plan is to use Starlink in the areas of these really rural areas with one or two homes that are very, very sparsely populated. We would not be deploying Starlink in downtown Charleston. It's a bad use for the technology. I'd much rather have a fiber connection in downtown Charleston, and I'd like to reserve Starlink for the hardest to reach areas, which candidly, it might take us 3 or 4 years to build infrastructure into those areas. I'd rather get the homes connected now using Starlink if we can.
Okay, do we have anyone else with a question?
Yes, Anna, I have a question for him. Currently, I'm using a MiFi little jetpack thing for my internet service in my house, and it can be very expensive because they're charging by the gigs, and it seems like we're at the tail end of Charleston County, the Adams Run, Parkers Ferry area, and I don't see on the map where we're included in this project.
Well, Ms. Mitchell, I will, first of all, I feel your pain. And I know you're running on a little MiFi device right now. I would encourage you to visit scdigitaldrive.org and type in your street address. And first of all, check and see which providers might be there. There's new service being installed literally on a weekly basis. So first thing I'd recommend you to do is type in your street address and see if there are other providers that you might not be aware of at your home. The second thing I would do is if there is no provider available to you, please fill out the I Need Internet survey. And the sooner you can do it, the better. Because literally what it does is it puts a push pin on our map, and we're getting ready to make a historic investment in South Carolina. And I promise you, Charleston County will be included. But every time a survey is filled out, that gives us documentation from a resident of South Carolina that it is an unserved area, and it's your way of raising your hand and saying, "Don't forget me." But we're looking at every single one, and we're trying to move as quickly as we can. So I really do think that one or more internet service providers will be applying for grants in Charleston County, and we certainly want to do everything we can to help you guys get connected as soon as possible.
Yes, I understand that. And I do know for sure that HughesNet is available in these areas, in the area out here, but it is so expensive,
Yep.
for us to get it. And like the gentleman said earlier, a lot of people just can't afford $150 a month for internet service.
Yep.
And I did fill out the survey that Kristen sent through the computer. I did fill that out. But it just seems like it's taken everybody so long to get to this tail end of Charleston County. I know PRTC had applied for the grant to service this area, and they were denied for Starlink. But we haven't been able to even get in touch with Starlink. So, I mean, do you have information for them that when you call, you can reach them?
I'm sorry, I'm talking, I have my mute on. Yeah, Starlink is, it's a challenge right now. They have when we look at satellite service, we really don't count that area as being served. I am hopeful that nobody in South Carolina has to continue to have satellite service, with the exception of maybe Starlink. Traditional satellite service, HughesNet and HughesLink and Viasat, they're extremely expensive, and the quality and the speed of performance is just not what I want any person to have to deal with. So we're going to work very, very hard. The General Assembly is moving, and they're equipping us with some dollars, which we have not had. Candidly, we haven't had any money to invest for almost a year now. So, but we're hopeful that the cavalry's coming. So.
Okay.
At this point, I do want to say the surveys that we took about maybe a year ago, that was done through one particular internet service. So Jim, what you were talking about with the survey, when it comes to the state, then you are using that in a different way. So we would need to go back and redo a survey on the state website.
Exactly. And Chairman Johnson, the thing that we have to do, and which we are doing now, is we have to get each individual resident's permission to have their street address and their name. So when you fill out our survey, you are giving us legal permission to have all of your street address information, but also giving us permission to engage and actually talk to an internet service provider on your behalf to help connect the dots. So we're trying to play a very active role to help you get connected as quickly as possible.
So I want to encourage Ms. Mitchell and all of our constituents out in certainly in Adams Run and some parts of Eddystone, then to really go and fill out the survey so that they are kind of officially notifying you that they don't have the service or they have a problem with the service.
That's absolutely correct. And especially, Ms. Mitchell, if you can get a bunch of your neighbors to also fill out the survey. Of course, what that does for us is we see a lot of dots right next to each other. So we know there's a lot of interest there, and we can prioritize those areas. So,
good afternoon, Cass. How you doing? Doing good.
So I'm sorry, I think we had a little bit of chatter. But yep. Please feel free to do that and to share that with your neighbors, and we'll do the best we can to prioritize your area.
Okay, thank you.
Jim and Phyllis, I have one more question right quickly. Isaac Moore again. And getting the information about the grants and everything, are we getting this information to the schools, to different neighborhoods so that people know and we're disseminating these information? What you're saying is really good, but if we can't get the information out, people won't know about these grants where they can get money to help with internet. Also, how are we standing in South Carolina compared to other states?
Great question. So the first part of your follow-up is with respect to informing residents, and this is why the work that Phyllis and Tri-County Cradle to Career do is so important. Of course, at the state level, you know, I don't live and work in Charleston every day, so I can't get the word out every day. So having a high quality organization like Phyllis is running, she can be on point in Charleston and informing residents, and that's the whole idea for what they're trying to do with their digital equity inclusion. So what Phyllis I'm sure will do is document how it's specific to the internet service provider that reaches your home. So if your home is served by AT&T or Charter or Comcast, there's a different pathway for each of those providers for you to get that emergency broadband benefit. There's a specific website and specific set of forms depending on which provider is in your area. So Phyllis, I think, is preparing that and probably already has done it, but that's probably the best way to keep Charleston County informed on that topic. And secondly, how is South Carolina doing vis-a-vis the nation? You know, the broadband work is very complicated right now because, of course, we're not alone. There are 50 states trying to get broadband at the same time. It's a very challenging situation. Global supply chain issues are a big deal. It's hard to get fiber. It's hard to get trained installers. The cost of, you know, we're seeing it at the gas pump, but the cost of fiber is in some cases doubling and tripling. The electronics. It's a very, very challenging environment right now. But I will tell you from the state broadband office perspective, I think we're really leading the nation in terms of our ability to document the challenges. I'm never satisfied with it, but we really have state-of-the-art capability at the state level now. And I'm proud of it. And we're gonna remap the state every 6 months. So we just released maps. We'll have another set of maps coming out probably in May and June. And we will have a 6-month cadence on delivery. So you can always go back to SC Digital Drive, and that's your home to get that information. And we'll try to keep everybody updated. So the whole idea is we make an investment and then we map the state. We make an investment and we map the state. And we keep on doing that until we've hopefully reached out to everybody.
Mr. Moore, I'll give you my word. I will reach back out to Jim's office and we'll get some flyers printed up and we'll get them out to as best we can to the community centers, wherever the nexus of people are that need the information. And Jim's right, that's a part of our work, and hopefully we'll be able to scale soon, right, and get to as many areas of the county as we can with those navigators who would be so critical to helping people make their way through it. Jim's right, it is a little complicated, and we know we all need help trying to figure this out and piece it together, make sure it's affordable, available, that the digital literacy, people know how to use it, is there. But I give you my word, I will get that information and get it copied and over to you.
Okay, so I think we're learning a lot about the process of some things and who might have responsibilities for, like, the infrastructure. We know that has to come in with the help of the state. And Jim, I think you said it was like about 6,500 homes that you all are planning to bring on board again sometime this year, by the year's end.
Well, we have. I'm looking back at my number real quick. We have in Charleston County, there's 6,500 homes that are currently unserved in Charleston County. But at the moment, we do not have any investment going on for those 6,500 homes. So as soon as the General Assembly waves the starting flag, probably in March, we'll begin making investments and we'll try and bring that down to 0. But until the General Assembly gives us our gets us out of the starting gate, we really can't do anything in Charleston County yet. We can't do anything anywhere in the state.
Jim,
Okay,
if I
all
can
right,
ask-
Mr. Turner.
Yes, ma'am. How are you good? What is the plans to be able to distribute that money? Are you going to be taking applications from qualified broadband build out providers like PRTC and Home Telecom, the two big guys in Charleston County? Or are you what is the process going to be to allocate that money?
You're exactly right. We set up a grant program. It's a competitive grant program. So we make an eligibility map, which shows off the unserved areas of the state. I will mention that if you have a GIS team that would like access to the electronic data, we have capability to do that now. And there's a request form where you can get electronic access to the data. But you're absolutely right. The eligible applicant for our grant program is the internet service provider themselves. So you need to advocate, and you mentioned a couple of great ones. And I know that they will apply on your behalf to take on different pieces of Charleston County. Home Telecom is great. PRTC is great. Comcast is working hard. AT&T is working hard. Pretty much everybody's in the game. They're really working hard in different areas and regions of Charleston County.
So there's nothing, I was going to ask what we could do as Charleston County, or specifically what our council members could do to make sure that the General Assembly allocates money to Charleston County, but that's not how it's going to work. So we really need to just talk to the internet companies and allocate with them so that they'll apply for the funds once.
That's right. Now, you have your own ARPA money, and the county can, an eligible expense is broadband for the county's ARPA money. But you're exactly right. Our grants will flow through the internet service providers. And I will tell you, as we look at grant applications, we look very carefully at close working relationship between the county and the provider themselves. And Phyllis, we are looking to see signs that the internet service provider is carefully meshed in with the community. So Phyllis, my coaching to you is write a letter of support for Charleston County, Dorchester, your service area grant applications. Chairman Johnson, rally county council to get behind any grant applications that come in. We need to see those letters of support. If you're capable of making a match or want to make a match, that's going to be very helpful as well to making sure that we fund those areas. But it is a competitive grant process. We're not here at the state. We don't pick winners and losers, but we will pick, the best of the best grant applications as they come in.
But we're not going to be able to put matching money until you finally come up with your grant program, right?
That's correct. But we're close. I really do think that the General Assembly and the governor are, fingers and toes crossed based on where they are with legislation. I am really super duper hopeful that we will have a grant program in calendar quarter Q2 this year. So I think we're pretty close to being able to announce a grant program. And let me be clear, that's just the beginning of a grant program, right? So we would be announcing it, and then applications flow in, and we have to go through the judgment, and then we issue what's called a notice to proceed to each provider so that they can start work. So just walking everybody through, if we open up the grant program in calendar quarter Q2, notices to proceed would probably be issued in calendar quarter Q3. And those projects will probably take 18 to 24 months to get completed.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have a question?
I do. Jim, are you saying, maybe this is not what you're saying, but are you saying in the grant application, if an ISP is able to demonstrate concrete memorandums of understanding, and I would even go beyond letter of support with a county, a municipality, and an on-the-ground community organization that will have bearing on their competitiveness.
Exactly. In our point scoring, Phyllis, we weigh very heavily the interaction that the ISP has with the community. So the better they are able to articulate that into the grant, there's a specific section of the grant application where they talk about how they are working with the community. So you can express, and you guys can start that discussion now to say, hey, we're willing to support you and work with you. A specific example, you know, if Charleston County was interested in having a telehealth clinic and you were willing to pay the funds, the one-time amount of money to install a telehealth clinic, you could write that into the grant. And you could say, hey, we have the funding for that. If the state takes care of installing the broadband, we'll take care of installing the telehealth clinic. That's an example of what we call magic.
Well, sounds like this is time to talk about our library then, because we're trying to get a library out on Edisto. That's one of the places that we use for COVID to give out, the test kits and for doing the shots. So are you saying if we even come out with something like that, to say that we have money for the libraries, and so we're trying to work to get the library out there, because Edisto is one of the places where we have really low connection for broadband.
Yes.
And so bringing a library there would really need the kind of infrastructure to help them.
Yes, libraries are an amazing, and we can have a whole sidebar discussion on the library. I would love to do a follow-up with you. I know we're kind of short on time right now, but libraries are amazing. We call those community anchor institutions, and libraries have a lot of resources available to them. Plus, they also have their own pathway to federal funding. I'm not sure if you knew that. They have availability for funding called E-rate funding, which allows high-speed internet to be installed in the library if they don't already have it.
I think our library director, Ms. Craig, was supposed to be on. Is she on, Kristen?
I haven't seen her.
Maybe not. Okay, so I'll talk with her.
Oh, and
about that.
Councilwoman Johnson, we are partnering currently with the library, as they're one of our major partners on our initiatives that we're trying to build. So that work is comprehensive, where the library is a partner. Organizations like Federal Healthcare are already a partner. The United Way is a partner, and community-based organizations. So it might make for a really nice application that all of these partners could come together with explicit roles in the impact that internet service could make in an area, Edisto or any other area in need. So happy to work with you on that as well.
Okay, that sounds good then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have our hour is up. Just a few more. Anyone else had another question or concerns you wanted to express? Okay. Well, Jim, I think you have done an excellent job then.
Thanks.
We've gotten to this point where you have, certainly the maps, I think they were the real tell story for me. I really like to see how, those areas are improving, and you can show us just where there's a lacking. So if our viewers or participants here, is able to go back and look at those maps, I think we'll find we're learning a lot here today. And Ms. Martin, and we're going to look forward to getting that, the flyers and getting the word out with our participants that are here today, because now you can get the flyers out prepared, but we got to have people in the community that's helping to work to get the word out. So I don't want people to think that Ms. Johnson going to be out there passing out all those flyers by herself now. We're going to have some help all over. We're all in this together. Everybody got a different role to play. Even Ms. Hess, who had to put this together for me today. Thank you so much, Ms. Hess, for getting the Jim and Mr. Turner, and I see some of the others, Mr. Smalls and them, are on the call with us. So we will look forward to having Jim sometime later on when you get this grant money, right?
Hopefully,
Yeah, we have to know about that now. And I
You'll know
still
about
would
it.
encourage calling your representatives,
you'll be,
to let them know that you really have this interest to get broadband in the area.
you'll probably hear me scream all the way from Columbia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
excited.
Well, I thank you so much for coming on, and Ms. Martin and Mr. Turner, especially for sharing the information here today, and all of our participants for coming on. You don't forget your job now. You got a job to do too. We want to spread the word in our communities about what we need to do as far as doing that survey and really pushing the button for the state to know that you have a big need in your area. So that being said, Ms. Hess, next month, we are looking at possibly doing a mobile home service and repair information.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that'll be our topic on mobile homes the next time. And until then, I thank you all for coming in.
Thank
Everybody have a
you.
great day.
You
Okay,
too.
Everybody
Thank
have a
you.
wonderful day.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.